speak in very broad categories, throughout its lifetime, the human brain alternates between the states of waking and sleep. And although we often think of sleep as a resting state, the neuroscience of sleep has started to suggest that learning doesn't really stop when your head hits the pillow. Across the span of the night, your brain cycles between different depths and stages of sleep in a very stereotypical fashion. Each cycle begins with a shallow stage 1 sleep, where you can be easily woken up by an external stimulus. This is where your brain sort of checks in with your environment, assessing for danger while you're still sleeping. You then move into deep sleep, also known as a slow wave sleep, because of the high amplitude, slow oscillations detected on the encephalogram. Our current understanding is that these slow waves synchronize the brain cells across the surface of the brain, which we call the cortex. Another waveform that occurs in deep sleep is called a sleep spindle. These originate in a deeper part of the brain that I'm shading here, called the thalamus, which we think of as a gateway, since most sensory information from the body must go through it to reach the conscious awareness. These spindles do a very coordinated dance with the slow waves in deep sleep, which has been implicated in learning and memory consolidation. Lastly, towards the end of the night, you spend more and more time in this weird other form of sleep that seems to get most publicity. This is called rapid eye movement sleep. You might see where this name comes from if you observe some of your pets as they're sleeping. The ECG waves are shallow but fast, and we believe they originate somewhere in the brainstem and travel down to the spinal cord, causing paralysis of all the voluntary muscles and up to the cortex. In humans, REM sleep is associated with dreaming. The specific function of the different forms of sleep is now actively investigated, but it's clear that the longer waking times necessitate more non-REM sleep, or deep or slow wave sleep, and the more slow wave sleep necessitates more REM sleep. That's a mouthful, oh man. Let's suppose you're learning something new during waking or picking up a new skill of some sort. What happens behind the scenes is that brain cells, or neurons, in certain regions fire in a specific sequence depending on the modality of what you're learning. Perhaps you feel like you're not doing so well, so you give up and go to bed. And this is where it gets interesting. As you go into slow wave sleep, the same sequence of brain cell activation is replayed while you're sleeping. This replay tends to occur with another waveform from slow wave sleep called a ripple. Ripples start in the hippocampus, a brain region that in humans is shaped like a seahorse, hence the name. Hippocampus is also the site where episodic memories are formed, like remembering events and places, and it is in this stage of sleep that are moved out of hippocampus and toward the cortex for permanent storage. We're going to go one layer deeper than this. Ultimately, learning entails alteration in the way that your neurons talk to each other. One of the ways this is done is by changing the density of small membranous protrusions found on the surface of neurons. We call these dendritic spines, and there's evidence that new spines are formed during non-REM sleep, specifically in the circuits related to what you learned. Finally, when you move into REM sleep later in the night, some of the spines are cleared, and other spines that are critical to the task learned are strengthened. Perhaps you wake up next day and reluctantly attempt to perform the task again or retrieve what you learned the night before, just to discover that you're actually doing better than you did before sleep. Last curiosity I'll throw out there has to do with conditioning. If a neutral, unrelated stimulus like a tone or a smell is presented during learning and during the slow wave sleep in the night that follows, that enhances the memory of what was learned while the sound or smell was present. It seems as though such stimulus serves as a cue that reactivates the newly formed neural connections, and by doing so helps consolidate them during sleep. This is all I have for you today. and thank you for watching. But in practice, if thinking, learning, creating, performing, or any of the above is part of what you do every day, take really good care of your sleep.